Final.
Come, championship bound, baby! Woo! Big love, baby! Woo! To hear, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow, bow, bow! Let's go!
May 30th, Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. Everything fell apart for the Fever. What began as a routine WNBA matchup quickly turned into something else. The Sun played with such extreme physicality that it felt less like competition and more like aggression. From the very first whistle, the tension on the court was impossible to ignore.
Chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with Jacy Sheldon as Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing, and hitting.
So she can do that.
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
Sophie Cunningham was the first to go down after what appeared to be a deliberate hit. Contact that was far too intense for a normal play. Then Sydney Colson got injured in another suspicious moment that left people wondering what was really going on. The most troubling part? Jacy Sheldon was involved in both incidents, bringing an overly aggressive style that pushed the limit and sparked serious frustration.
Can we talk about the physicality for a second? Two players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was Jacy Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
This is where their college rivalry comes in. Sheldon and Clark have been clashing since their Iowa versus Ohio State matchups. Every time they played, Sheldon made it her goal to annoy and disrupt Clark in any way she could. She followed her closely, hit her on screens, and constantly talked trash during stoppages. At that point, it wasn't just about the game. It had become personal.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs. They weren't Achilles. They were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the It's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
The referees that day seemed completely out of touch, letting obvious fouls and dangerous plays go without any calls, as if they were watching a different game. Clark had to watch as her teammates got injured, while Sheldon kept playing without even a warning. The frustration kept building with every play. The Fever gave it their all, but ended up losing 85-83. And worse, they lost two important players to injuries that likely could have been avoided if the game had been officiated properly. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson were out, and their absence would impact the team moving forward.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. Jacy Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. Jacy Sheldon.
You could see it in Clark's eyes after that loss. The way she looked at Sheldon in the handshake line, the way she spoke in the post-game interview. It was clear this wasn't over. The Fever wouldn't forget what happened, who was responsible, or how the officials let slide. June 17th couldn't come soon enough. When it finally arrived, Clark had just returned from a quad injury and was fresh off a huge win against the previously undefeated New York Liberty. This was only her second game back after 3 weeks off, and you could tell she hadn't forgotten. From the way she stepped onto the court to how she looked at the Sun players during warm-ups, it was obvious. This wasn't just another game to her.
This is a reckless play. This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Colson is between her and the ball. Sid Colson is, in fact, between Jacy Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
The game begins with that same heavy tension in the air. Sheldon is all over Clark, guarding her like everything depends on it. Way too close, way too physical. She's sticking to Clark on every play, bumping her on screens, and doing all the gritty, borderline stuff that turns the game ugly. It's the same aggressive approach that injured Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson back in May, and everyone in the arena can feel what's about to happen.
She just texts me. She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown. Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
Jacy Sheldon is there with her hand in her face.
Early in the third quarter, everything shifts. Clark is bringing the ball up when Sheldon steps in to defend. She reaches in, seemingly going for a steal, but her finger goes directly into Clark's eye. The contact is clear and immediate. Clark's head jerks back from the hit, and everyone sees it.
And Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it saying, hey, oh, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh. And Marina steps in to protect JC.
Clark immediately grabs her face, clearly in pain and furious, as she processes what just happened. She's squinting, trying to see, but it's obvious her mind is racing. It's not just about the pain. This was the same player who injured her teammates, now targeting her with the same dirty play. Clark reacts like anyone would. She shoves Sheldon away after getting poked in the eye. It's a natural response when someone jabs you like that. The crowd sees it all and erupts, knowing exactly what just went down. But somehow, the referees are about to make things even worse.
Quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and Jacy Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down.
Clark is okay.
Sheldon fouls Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabrey comes in. She decks Clark, tempers flaring on both.
Clark is standing there, holding her eye, clearly the victim of a dangerous play, but the refs blow their whistles. The crowd is stunned, confused, and angry. Fans are pointing to the replay screens, which clearly show the eye poke that started it all. But the officials stick to their decision. They hit Clark with a technical foul for pushing back after being poked in the eye. A technical for reacting after someone jabbed her in the eye. It made no sense to anyone watching. Clark had just dropped 32 points in her first game back from injury, and now she's being punished for standing up for herself against the same player who hurt her teammates. The call sent a terrible message. It said players could go after Clark with dirty plays, and if she reacts, she'll be the one in trouble. But the eye poke was just the start. Marina Mabrey was watching it all, and she was about to take things even further.
Placement? I think it is.
Oh, and Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it. Look at Mabrey. She's got a scar on one side, a scratch on one side of her face, a scratch on the other side. It's not from the game today. I asked her about it. She's always in the mix. There's a lot of contact here. There's a scrape across the face. That's what Clark didn't like.
Right after Clark gets hit with that ridiculous technical foul, Marina Mabrey takes things into her own hands, and not in a good way. While Clark is still trying to recover from the eye poke, Mabrey walks over and does something that stuns everyone in the arena.
Take another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. Jacy Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina, trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina, Charles, Clark, and Mabrey, they received technical fouls. Sheldon received a flagrant one.
This was a normal basketball contact. It was flat-out assault. Mabrey body-checked Clark like it was a hockey game, not a WNBA match, knocking her backward and sending her crashing to the floor. The hit was blatant and completely uncalled for, so obvious that even casual fans knew it was a cheap shot. Clark hit the court hard, and the look on her face said it all, shock and disbelief that yet another Connecticut Sun player had just targeted her.
That's what Clark didn't like. And then Mabrey came in with a bump.
And Mabrey's day is almost assuredly going to be done. But both teams.
The entire Fever bench jumps up in outrage after watching their star player get blatantly hit right in front of the refs. Players are pointing at Mabrey, yelling at the officials, desperate for someone to finally step in and do their job. The crowd is going wild, stunned that this is all happening on their home court with no action being taken. Coach Stephanie White is losing on the sideline, shouting at the refs, throwing her hands in the air, and pointing directly at Mabrey. She knows exactly what just happened. Clark was targeted again, and somehow the officials are still missing it, about to blow yet another crucial call.
And then Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, Jacy Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
The refs give Mabrey just a common technical foul, the exact same penalty Clark got for simply defending herself after being poked in the eye. Think about that. Clark gets her eye jabbed, reacts with a shove, and gets hit with a tech. Mabrey full-on body checks Clark to the floor in retaliation, and also gets a tech. It doesn't make sense, and everyone in the arena knows it. The punishment doesn't match the actions, and the imbalance is impossible to ignore.
After this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the three referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this.
White doesn't hold back in the post-game press conference. She's furious, saying this is exactly what happens when officials fail to control the game and let things like this slide. And it's not new, it's been happening all season. She's clearly had enough of watching her players get targeted while the refs just stand by and do nothing.
Of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on Jacy Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And Jacy Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
The message was clear. The officials weren't going to protect Clark, so her teammates would have to. Sophie Cunningham, watching from the bench, had seen enough. In the final minute of the game, with the Fever comfortably leading 87-70, Jacy Sheldon had the ball again. The clock was winding down, but Cunningham wasn't focused on the score anymore. She was thinking about May 30th when she got hurt, about Clark getting poked in the eye with no real consequences, and about Marina Mabrey slamming her teammate to the floor.
Officials don't get control of the ball game when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better.
Cunningham remembers everything from that rough May game. Getting injured, sitting on the bench in pain while Sheldon kept playing like nothing happened, and watching the officials ignore it all as her teammates got targeted. Now, with Sheldon driving to the basket, Cunningham sees her moment. and she's ready to make a statement.
Now let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. At the end of the game, Jacy Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here.
Cunningham lines up Sheldon and delivers a hard, unmistakable flagrant foul, wrapping her up and dragging her to the floor. This wasn't a play for the ball. It was payback. It was Sophie Cunningham making it clear that no one gets away with hurting her teammates. The refs hit her with a flagrant 2, resulting in an automatic ejection, while Sheldon and Lindsay Allen are also thrown out for their roles in the fight. 3 players ejected, but the message was sent loud and clear. Justice was finally served on the court.
Sophie commits a hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
Clark wraps up the game with 20 points and 6 assists, leading the Fever to an 88-71 win that felt like more than just another victory. Natasha Howard notches her 50th career double-double with 16 points and 12 rebounds, while Kelsey Mitchell chips in 17 points. It was a strong team performance across the board, but deep down, everyone knew what truly mattered that night.
It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't going to injure Jacy. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't going to handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, Jacy Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and Jacy are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section.
This was the Fever showing they won't be bullied, won't be intimidated, and always stand up for their own. The win sends them to their first ever Commissioner's Cup final, a major milestone for the franchise. But more importantly, it sends a clear message to the entire league. If you come after their players, there will be consequences.
A rare miss at the rim for Aaliyah Boston, the league's top field goal percentage shooter in the WNBA, but it's Boston who comes up with the steal and the find to Howard. Clark working on the rookie. Clark on the drive. Hang, shot too strong. There's Howard to clean up.
And Clark working off the ball, comes off the stagger.
Third year in her WNBA in terms of setting up her teammates. Clark behind the back, feed inside. 2 more for Howard.
The Fever got their revenge after that tough May 30th loss. Clark got her justice after being eye-poked and body-checked. Sophie Cunningham became a hero by stepping up when it counted most. Sometimes, the officials won't have your back, but your teammates will. That's exactly what happened on June 17th, when the Indiana Fever showed the basketball world they won't back down from anyone.
Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie." Sophie's jersey is going to sell out tonight. She's going to be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wanted that.
This game proved the Indiana Fever aren't just a talented team. They're a family that stands together when it counts. When the officials won't protect their players, teammates like Sophie Cunningham step in and handle it themselves. That's real loyalty in professional sports. With the Commissioner's Cup final coming up on July 1st against the Minnesota Lynx, one thing is clear. After everything this team has shown, 2025 is looking brighter than ever for Fever fans. Remember this moment when someone says loyalty doesn't matter in pro sports. Sophie Cunningham just proved otherwise. If you ride with the Fever, comment CC and Spicy Sophie down below, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next one.